Hello and welcome to devlog number 1 of King Datchi. My name is Mike and I'm developing a 2D turn-based creature collector and battler called King Datchi. King Datchi is a pixel art RPG set in the early 2000s in a land where the great King Datchi tournament comes once every 3 years. In this game you play as a young boy who starts his journey to become King Datchi. You'll be able to use ringtones to catch Datchi, train Datchi in brutal combat, do part-time jobs to earn and help finance your path to the top, feel the grief of losing a Datchi with permadeath, and also play Snake. This is the 9th month I've been working on this game, I believe. Although I mentioned it in my update video earlier, I want to start doing a dedicated devlog for it because it's got a lot going on now. But before any of that, just as a reminder, it's available to wishlist on Steam right now. In this devlog, I want to go over the overall game and give it a proper start and breakdown for anyone who is new to the channel. So I'm going to be discussing some of the world of King Datchi, the main game mechanics, and talk about why I decided not to use something like Unity or Godot for the game engine. If you're new, then you might not know this about me, but I really dig flip phones, and I have pretty much since I saw one. And for the longest time I wanted to make a Pokemon clone with permadeath. I've tried a few times only to give up, but last year I decided to make it finally happen come hell or high water, and thus King Datchi was born. King Datchi is set in a modern world with the vibe of the early 2000s culture, where players use ringtones to capture creatures called Datchi and use them for battle. Once every 3 years there's a King Datchi tournament to decide who is the King Datchi. Trainers battle to increase their rank so they can have a chance to battle the previous King Datchi and become the new champion. But unlike most other creature collectors, when a Datchi is defeated in battle, it dies for good. I wanted to create a world where players have to weigh their every move, as it could be the last for the Datchi they lead, and at the same time show how a paper plate mentality towards life has developed in this culture full of gruesome fighting. I really wanted to make a game where actions have heavy consequences for the creatures being used, and the juxtaposition of this to those calling the shots. In the world of King Datchi, in order to get stronger, another must die. But that only applies to the Datchi being used. That's kind of the main premise of the game. That being said, there's going to be some major goof going on, and some kooky characters and colorful maps. I'd like to discuss some of the core game mechanics now. Since King Datchi is basically a Pokemon clone, it'll feature turn-based battles where players can use items, attack, run, and switch in and out the Datchi they hold. And just like in Pokemon, players will be able to battle and catch wild Datchi to use. But there's a bit of a twist to the catching mechanic. Players can also try and steal other trainers' Datchis in battle, and if successful, they can use the stolen Datchi to defeat the other trainer. But watch out, they may do the same to you. I thought this would be an interesting take on Pokemon in an extreme world where winning is more important than anything else. Another major component of the game will be Datchi extinction. I wanted to try to make a simple ecosystem where there's a constantly fluctuating population of each species of Datchi. In this ecosystem, some Datchi's population depends on the prey of another Datchi. So if you kill out the prey species, eventually the predator population will become extinct as well. When you kill a Datchi in the wild, it will affect the overall population, and once a population is gone, it'll no longer exist in the game. This means that you won't be able to purchase them as well. Later in the game you'll receive a sickle that will be able to cut down bushes as well. This will also contribute to the decline of the population of Datchi in that area. This brings me to the corpse market in the game. When a player defeats another Datchi, they will receive the corpse of the fallen Datchi. This can be sold on the market, and the less common a Datchi is, the more of a price the other player can get for it, dead or alive. So there's an incentive to destroy more and more in the game. And lastly, I want this game to be difficult. So when you lose a battle, you'll need to start over again. And if you don't have enough money to purchase a decent Datchi, then you can work a part-time job to earn items you can sell later. In Pokemon, when you're defeated, you lose half your money and are kicked back to a Poke Center or something. But I thought it would be more interesting just to admit defeat, rebuild your team, and challenge them again. For this game I'm using both vanilla JavaScript and Electron.js. That means I'm using my own engine I built, so collisions, rendering, and everything is handled in my own engine. This has proven to be a very painful experience. I've made simple game engines before. In fact, all the games I made for KaiOS were my own custom engines. The only time I used a framework was for a game called Avezon. So I'm not too unfamiliar with doing it myself, but when I first started out on this journey, I had no idea the complexity I'd be running into with a game like this. I really thought doing a 2D turn-based game wouldn't be that difficult. Man, I was wrong. I think coming up with a decent version of this was what really took so long. I rewrote the code probably 4 or 5 times, maybe even more, until I got something decent. Though it still has some bugs I've got to fix, mainly in the animation part. But why didn't I just switch to Unity or Godot early on, you may ask? While slightly masochist, I think part of the enjoyment I get from programming is coming up with ideas to solutions. I'm sure I could have found somebody else's code, copied it, and tried to figure out how it works so I could make it work in my situation. But for me, I almost feel like that's harder to do than just coming up with my own solution. If I do it myself, I know how it works and I can debug it easier. But the problem with frameworks and other engines, it feels like it takes a really long time to learn, when I could just do it myself. Which is kind of the reason why I didn't do this in another programming language like C#. I'd have to learn C# and some low-level framework, which felt like it could take longer to do. That being said, if I ever make another game, I will most likely be using a framework or learning an engine, and it will not be in JavaScript. This has been a crazy project and my longest project so far. I still can't believe it's been like 9 months, but I think we're getting to the point in our progress where we can put out a demo for you guys to try. The next Steam Next Fest deadline is June 29th, and I want to have a small demo out that I can submit to it. Before we go, I want to say thank you to all those of you who have stuck by and want to see this project succeed. I dropped the trailer like 2 months ago and I was really surprised to see it picked up by the algorithm. It was amazing to see King Datchi get as much exposure as it did. And if you want to keep up with us, you can subscribe to this channel, follow on Twitter, and join our Discord, or check the official website. I just want to say thanks again from the bottom of my heart, and thanks for watching. And I'll see ya later.